Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today, Jim Morgan and myself are going to get into a conversation on the 6 epic Rift Watcher summoners. We're going to choose the top 6, both artistically as well as utility-wise. We don't necessarily agree and we debate some of this stuff. It's a good conversation, and this is from the Splinterlands TV live event. If you want to be live at these events and present your questions, comments for our consideration, stick around on Friday nights on Twitch, Splinterlands TV, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you'll see Jim and myself hanging out, talking Splinterlands. Guys, thanks so much for your time and attention. Have an amazing day. God bless.
Yeah, I'm excited for the new water summoner to come out. Do you know why I'm excited for that one?
Because it won't be Kelia?
Because it won't be Kelia.
I want to see.
Knew, guys. Dwayne knows.
There's tons to talk about there that I've already touched on, but I haven't heard Jim's thoughts on them, and I haven't heard your guys' thoughts on them. So I'd love to see in the chat like comments on that as we go through it, because I want to get that consensus on what we think about these summoners. I really think Dragon is like a clear head and shoulders above the others for a lot of reasons, but there's some quality in there, including that blue one, which isn't bad. Thanks, Dr. Stelto. You know what I thought? I mentioned this before, but Jim, you and I haven't talked about it. I was blown away by the fact that that during this town hall, Matt dropped Fernheart and Dahlan in the chat without any sort of discussion on the issue at all. Like he literally, like no comment, no, hey guys, here's some eye candy for you. No, like, you know, they always have pomp and circumstance before these things, and he just dropped them in there. I was like, what the? I was taken aback for sure, and then at the end of it, literally 2 hours and 10 minutes in or whatever, like right at the end, just dropped these other 4 without any sort of conversation. I was just so overwhelmed by how much was in this town hall, and that was indicative of how much, because they couldn't even be bothered to zhuzh it up. They just drop them on us.
You know what I love about Matt? Like whenever he drops something, he doesn't even have to ask. He's just like, here.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, Matt, can we show some of this stuff?
That's right. Hey, you're totally right.
Or they ask Nate, is like, oh, do you have anything? And he's like, oh yeah, we're still working on it with Nate, blah blah blah. But but Nate's just, man, why can't I words? But Matt is just like, boom, here you go, guys. Just eat this.
Yeah, totally. But I really, really want to see comments from you guys about what you think of these summoners is number 1. And like, let's call Fernheart 1, and we got 2 with Dispa, 3 for Dahlan, 4 for Ithilane, I guess. Aquatis 5 and Scargore for number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Give me a number that you guys think which is the best. Red. Spike Sun says red.
I kind of like Scargore.
Yeah. Oh man, the art is amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really awesome.
Now that's a real dwarf right there.
Dude,
okay.
It is.
Kelia, that's not a real dwarf.
No. I agree. You're right. And we have to say, man, this art is like next level. Like I almost feel bad saying it, because I know where this game came from and I love the roots of this game. But these are just like, this is a whole other rung of quality and caliber of artistic development, man.
I know a lot of people like the dragon. I am not convinced.
Yeah.
I just am not convinced at all.
Some people are wrong more often than not, Jim. That's all I have to say to you.
Yeah. Dwayne's like, you can be wrong. That's fine.
Enrage for the whole team takes a big, what's he say there? Big arsenal of monsters and turns it up to 10. Yeah, man.
Bro. People don't realize that like Red has really strong monsters with a beefy HP pool. Like the Tenyi Striker. He has like what, 8 HP? What's the Phineas Rage?
Yeah,
that guy's a monster.
Yeah.
Come on, like, are we prepared to see a Grum enraged? Is anyone ready for that?
Yeah, I love picking Grum when Enrage, that rule set of Enrage happens. And so you're right. That'll be a very effective choice. And I do think she's going to be a high performing summoner. So I agree with a lot of the sixes out there. I just think, you can't ever look at Dragon and say like, no thanks, because frankly, Dragon just unlocks so many extra cards that you would never touch because of the two. That's the huge bonus. If Thispa had no ability, this thing would be in the contention for best because it unlocks two splinters at the same time. But Phase happens to work really well with the speed manipulation available on that team. And so I think you're going to find that is going to be pretty annoying to play against.
The thing that's like really just throwing me off, and I understand. So like Rick brings up some good monsters that could be used with it. Mm-hmm. And I understand that there's going to be good cards for it, right? But like the thing as a whole, it doesn't provide anything else other than magic evasion.
Well, to be fair, hang on a second.
I want something to be more proactive than reactive.
I see what you're saying, but doesn't phase, like, here's the thing. Speed is how you dodge melee or archery. You don't need an ability. And so when you see phase, what I think of it is really, this can dodge anything. And the question then is, what's your speed? And so if you have the support monsters, and it's possible to do 5, even 6 speed manipulations, and then throw in a blind on there 7, and you wouldn't use it if you're using this, but that wouldn't be a speed manipulation. But like literally 7 different speed manipulations, maybe more, because some of them are slow. No, nobody does slow and swiftness, but there are people who do slow and blind. And so it's possible to literally do 6 speed manipulations, and therefore, when you see phase, it's not just that they can dodge magic, it's that they can dodge everything, because you're going to build a team where speed is everything. And then in that, that's your play. And so I hear you though. You're right. It's kind of a counterplay, but the number of times I've won with a Nightmare on the death team, which does some damage, but it only attacks at 3 at the highest levels, and it has blast, so it hits the second position also, but it doesn't. That's not a huge tank. It just, the thing is, it never gets hit, and I can play till the 7th round, the 8th round, the 10th round, and chip damage your team and still be standing because of my speed. And so I really like it, but Scargor is amazing, and I think the Enrage is going to be really special and powerful, not just because there are some amazing monsters there, but because that are melee focused on that team. Of course, Enrage is going to impact the melee, the damage output. There's some great retaliates that I think will really benefit here, including the Forgotten One, who is already amazing and is going to be way better with this. Like you said, Grum. And then, but what I'm interested in this is actually from the same perspective of the speed manipulation component, because even those monsters that are not in melee focused, picture an Almo Cambio on the fire team with 6 speed to start with, and then it gets hit and goes to 9 speed. It's got phase. It's an interesting. It's a speed related benefit in my mind, and in those ways I like. Those are my 2 favorites.
All right. I think we can all agree that Death is probably the worst.
Yeah, I see a lot of people like Fernheart, and I understand why. The close range is certainly powerful. In some context. I just don't know. I might be sleeping on him. I might be like underestimating the impact of this. And maybe I need to just kind of slow my roll. He's not one of my top performers though. I don't picture him as being powerful. If I had to just quickly I don't think I did a 1 through 6 on the last time I talked about this, but I feel Vispa's number 1, Scargor's number 2.
If I was gonna play Dragon with 4 mana, I'd much prefer to take a Quicks any day of the week.
Is that right? I mean, Quicks is good too, but the interesting thing about this card is that it's going to be a brand new card that potentially you might be able to get for even cheaper. I don't know if that's true, but it's going to be interesting, and it won't be cheaper initially. These cards never are, right? It's like they launch expensive. There's this price decline as supply comes online. And then there's like a bottom, and maybe we're there for Chaos Legion, and maybe we're not. But you've seen it. Like cards like Quicks came out, and they were rare. There was very few on the market, and they were more expensive than they are right now. And they've been slowly bleeding out, as we've seen with Chaos Legion. And I think eventually we see a point where it ticks back up. My expectation would be the same thing for these cards. Initial high prices dropping lower, and maybe there's an opportunity to pull this versus a Quicks. But I think it's going to be, I like Quicks too, but I think this is interesting in gold in ways. Remember, it's epic, and therefore gives you higher rares.
Higher, yeah. The other thing I do, or I wanted to bring up about Fernheart. So we have a couple there's one legendary creature, Iza, who has Scavenge, right? Mm-hmm. And when I first saw her, I thought she was just straight dookie, because I'm like, okay, you're sneaking, you have Scavenge, but then you're also ranged. All right, so let's go take a look at how many other things in green also have sneak, and there wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah.
But then you also have Uraeus, which is a very strong card. So you can do sneak things with them. But then the Scavenge didn't really make sense to me, because it's not like it's a sneak defender, because it has to first be getting that HP pool.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, now that it does have a big HP pool, it's out in front, and then it does literally nothing because it can't attack from the front line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So I think Fernheart made this card so much stronger.
Sure.
Not to mention with the extra HP, but then we also have the Venari Seedsmith, who's essentially like the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like he's a ranged attacker who has Scavenge on him.
Mm-hmm. There he is. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, definitely.
So that, and these cards are really low mana cost as well, which is something I really like on top of it. So you can get a lot of value with these two cards along with the Fernheart. And then you also have access to the Jarks, who I think he has 6 HP base, but he's also whoa, Dwayne's about to just buy all the copies off. Dwayne's like, oh, Jim's talking about combo stuff? Let me go buy it.
Sorry, guys. I just need to call my broker. Yeah, make that trade, boys.
Oh, man.
It's so cheap. It's so cheap.
So the Jarks card, I forget exactly, but he has 3 damage at level 1.
Yeah, and Jarks, I really hate Jarks, but yeah.
He is a little slow, but he does get the True Strike later on, so that doesn't even matter then. And look at his HP pool. He's sitting at 7 at level 4, and then he goes to 8, which can then go to 9 with Fernheart. Hitting for 4-5 damage in the front line, can't be evaded. This guy also gets a lot stronger.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you make a strong point about its usefulness for this team. I still feel like here's what I imagine. The benefit of close range is that when my other monsters die, my last monster is allowed to keep fighting. That's those niche moments where it's a really close battle. I don't want close battles. I want to obliterate you, and I don't want my guys to die at all. And so it feels like this summoner is aiming at when I'm giving me that edge in certain moments where the battle is close, and that's valuable. I don't mean to say it's not, but I just would rather you never hit me. And I feel like the Skargor and the dragon are aiming more in that direction, which to me separates them so far. I guess I've already said that. So it's just that to me, it's such a dramatic difference. So,
right. Also, someone did bring up, what about Cornelius as well?
Yeah.
Set up Cornelius in the front line.
Totally. And I use Cornelius. I own Cornelius and I use it regularly in the first position, even without close range, which might sound like, why would you do that? Well, for one thing, there are lots of monsters who have not, maybe there's not lots of monsters, but there's some monsters who have, what's that ability? Oppress. So if you don't, if you put a gelatinous cube or a Bakjira in the first position, oppress will really hit you double strength, right? But then if you put a Cornelius in the first position, which has an attack, even though it is not attacking, it will not be double damaged. And so I find it as and it has magic reflect, it has archery, return fire, and it has self heal. So I find it's like a kind of a gelatinous cube type tank with its own benefits. In certain situations, I'll do that. So I mean, Fernheart does have a good amount of utility, and I think he doesn't deserve to be last. I do think Dallin probably deserves to be last in my mind, but somebody in the chat was saying cripple is going to be fixed. We need to talk about that for a minute because that's true. It is going to be fixed.
I don't even care if it gets fixed. Mm-hmm. It's not good enough.
I love cripple though. So I do agree with you. It's not good enough unless there's something added to it. And right now there isn't. If death, I really, in my opinion, for this to be powerful, just like you're doing with Fernheart, you just spent time explaining, well, look at this Isa and look at this, this other, I forget, Seedsmith, and then the other one. You gave me 3 monsters that are really going to benefit from Fernheart, which tells me that Fernheart has utility. But then if I showed you Dallin, when you look at the death team, there isn't anybody with double strike. Not that double strike is the only thing that would really be necessary for that, but definitely double strike helps. That, I mean, we see it on the Axemaster with the blue team. The Axemaster has double strike and cripple. And I find that so powerful when I think it might be at the diamond level or above, but it's so powerful. And then, so Dallin would benefit from that, but the only double strike on the death team is at the wild level. They do have it, but it's, you'd have to be looking at the Undead Minotaur, which I own and is a great card, but it doesn't have any sort of real tanking ability, right? It's got no shield, it's got no armor, it's got no heal, it's got no void, it's got nothing that'll help it sustain itself. So it's really only functional in those rule sets where melee happens from any position. And I'm
also thinking in terms of modern format though.
Exactly. So me too. And but this is literally these are the only potential double strikers that could partner with that summoner. And you're right, they're not modern. And so that's another big X on Dallin's score sheet. Nope, you can't. You're probably the best competitors that would work with you aren't even available in modern. And we know how many people like the modern and the newer players looking to find their victory and their find their way in the modern league. And so I think these are interesting if you use a Dallin and you play in wild and it's a melee only type rule set, but that's pretty situational. So I feel as though, and maybe somebody in the chat's got something to say about this. If you feel differently, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. But I just don't see where Dallin gets his partnership like Jim just spent 5 minutes giving us with Fernheart. I don't see who's going to make Dallin be. Of course, Cripple's going to be good even if it's only one attack. But I think it becomes really powerful if you get Cripple, if you get double strikes, and that doesn't exist yet. And so I guess you could look at, some of the monsters maybe that do 2 different attacks, because I think there might be those. Let's find out. The ones who do magic and...
I'd rather play Waka over Dallin.
Yeah.
Even if Waka was 4 mana, which I believe he's 3.
He is 3,
I'd prefer to play Waka.
Maybe some of the tramples could help because they get to go twice, but there's only, I think, 2. The blast damage might be nice because I think it might, I don't know, but it might proc on the first target and the second for the cripple.
Well, the thing with the trample, the cripple doesn't matter on the first hit if you kill them.
That's true.
So it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sure, if you say you don't kill them in the first round, right? Say it's I killed them in the second round, which the trample could, or the the cripple could have helped, but then you get that second attack off on the next guy, and then that could cripple. So then if they have a form of healing, sure,
Yeah.
it could be a problem.
I just don't see it, guys. I just don't see it. Like, this card to me feels like it doesn't have a partner to work with. I don't see the synergy. Maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see it. And to me, Dallin is by far like just the bottom feeder here. Butter says Cripple doesn't. What's that?
They should combine Waka and Dallin into a good legendary summoner.
Cripple doesn't have enough overall utility to want to use it in summoner versus other.
That was by Virus.
Butter says Cripple does not have enough overall utility to want it on your summoner versus other cards. I think that's true. Yeah. Cripple is by itself is neat but weak, says Kryptonius Rex. Yeah, that's what I would say about it. And Cimarron's Cripple can easily mean cards die 1 or 2 more rounds sooner from poison and earthquake rule sets. So that's true. That's true. But that feels pretty situational. So you're saying like where there's a Noxious Fumes rule set or there's an earthquake rule set, bringing out your Cripple summoner to really kind of bring them down that much quicker, even if they've got armor. That's true. Especially I would say with Noxious Fumes. I think that was Cimarron. Because imagine the earthquake, your opponent might have tons of armor. And so I'm thinking like the white team, like picture the shield bearer who's got maybe 10 armor and he's got shield. So the earthquake is, damaging him every round. And your cripple would be hurting his hit points, but it's irrelevant because he's got 27 armor. But if you were talking Noxious Fumes, which is poisoning their hit points, taking down their hit points every round, Cripple might really be powerful in that rule set. That's a great point. But I feel if that's the one reason to play it, that's. But like I was talking to Tails this week about these cards, and I want to be clear that until I get my hands on this, until the community is playing with these cards, I'm just spitballing here. And so, you know what I mean? Like this is, I believe it's going to be the weakest of these 6, but who knows? Because by the way, there is 37 other cards coming in this set. And I guess probably 6 of them or something will be for death. And maybe there'll be some amazing partnerships there.
And you ready for Giant Killer to become more handy?
Yes, I am. Yep.
I thought that was a cool little spoiler.
Mm-hmm. With the, I don't know what you mean by spoiler, but are you talking about the behemoths?
I'm not too sure, but I believe it was Matt saying that there's going to be higher mana cost creatures in this new set.
Yeah, I heard they're called.
I mean, 10 plus.
I heard they're called behemoths.
Oh, is that it?
We don't know much about them, to my knowledge. But yeah, Giant Killer is definitely one of those abilities that just can't help but get better every new card issuance, because there's always going to be at least one new big monster. In some situations there'll be 6 new big monsters. I heard there's going to be, or 5 behemoths, 1 for every splinter, I think. And so yeah, man, it's a very exciting time. These are interesting. Even Dallin, I will say, like, this art's amazing. The Dallin is one of my 2, let's say, I think my favorite art might go Fernheart, Dallin, Skargor, Aquatis, Thispa, Ithlane. So like Dallin's up there for art wise, but from a power standpoint, I would argue it's Dragon, Fire, probably water.
I think the life one is a lot stronger than water.
So you think? Do you feel? Would you say a 3 here? Where are you putting it?
I would put life at 3.
I could be convinced, but that +1 speed is certainly going to be helpful. It's going to really help White. White's kind of a slower team. I don't think this is very helpful, but I do think this is. For Aquatis, I mean, I just really feel like there are a lot of speed manipulation monsters on the blue team, so therefore I think this will take effect and be quite punishing. But you need to have the monsters. this, I feel like this ability is going to just be good regardless of what monsters you have. Like why everyone benefits from +1 speed.
I think life just has overall really good buffing cards.
Yeah.
And then this kind of just also then sets them overboard.
Yeah, interesting.
So like you just have multiple ways of getting, more than one speed
Yeah.
and like and lower elo, I guess I'd say. Not so much even bronze, but in like silver, you have really good buff cards. So to be able to adjust your speed, HP, lowering the speed of your opponent, you can get really good speed control in life now.
Yeah, I think I could be convinced. I'm on the fence saying blue, but I do see what your point is, and I think this is more like a certain benefit, and this is more like if everything works out and your opponent doesn't kind of bring a lot of speed with him, this could really be punishing. But that's a bit of a counter, and this is more of a I'm putting my best foot forward, which is always a good thing to do in the game.
I prefer to be proactive.
Yeah.
So I do tend to rate that higher.
Hey, birds, bees, and trees. He says I went 12 in gym. Loved the research. Me too, man. This is the talk. Stuff is so important because it ends up informing how we invest in the game. And you definitely don't want to come into Rift Watchers just like without the knowledge. Like you want to be thoughtful about what cards. I think I've said it probably 100 times on my channel over the years, but you need to think these things through once they're revealed to you, because when the opportunity comes, you're going to be staring down at like 43 new options, and you need to quickly assess whether a card is really, really strong, and then you buy it while no one else is buying it. And there's an opportunity financially there sometimes. And so I think thinking it through and seeing, these ones, we're going to have lots of time to think on them. These ones won't surprise anybody because we're going to really talk about it, think about it. And I think it's not going to be the sort of surprise I'm referring to. But when we get the other 37-ish cards for this deck, there's going to be some cards in there that you aren't going to know what to think about. And there's going to be some new abilities. And you need to think about that so that you can maybe grab them before others make them expensive.
Virus got a point. Dalen will be awesome for tower defense and land staking. Right. But one thing, all right, jokes aside, one thing I did want to bring up before I forget. So the dragon summoner and the water one, I do think are going to be better in the higher tiers, which crypto something Rex. He just reminded me of that. It's like, okay, yeah, when cards are going to be getting more abilities, higher up stats as well. I do think that's when those two cards will shine a lot more. But,
that's where I'm at, right? And so I'm coming to that conversation with these, but I'm
just not thinking about it in terms of that. But 100% agree. I think those are the best in terms of like max play.
So I'm thinking I feel like it's set in my mind. It's dragon, fire, and I could be like, this is almost a tie for 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not really sure.
Also really strong.
What's that?
I said range is also really strong. It can pump out a lot of damage, I think. Especially with the scatter shot from the legendary fire. If you are giving their stuff or giving your stuff return fire, and then they're playing ranged scatter shots with Jace K, and then you just can kind of get some crazy stuff going in. But yeah, I do think you're right. Talking about max level play.
Yeah, that's great. That's great stuff. Virus said earlier, Pellicor Conjurer with the return fire will be sweet. Totally. 2-mana monster. Yes. A 2-mana monster with crazy speed, and he's gonna have one more speed, and then the return fire. Like, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Or give him phase with a dragon.